At the edge of a remote road, a poor girl dreamed of magical worlds while selling jam to passing drivers. One ordinary afternoon, she witnessed a luxury car crash right before her innocent eyes. That stranger was, in fact, her biological father, who had never known she existed. If this beautiful story of resilience and love moved you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tell us which city you're watching us from. Continuing. Lily Morgan pressed her tiny hands against the window pane of the rustic cabin, watching, as early morning fog draped itself over the Vermont mountains. At 7 years old, her world consisted of 3 treasures: the cinnamon-scented kitchen where she helped Grandma Rose make maple syrup, the small bedroom they shared with its sloping ceiling, and her prized collection of bottle caps that sparkled like jewels in the sunlight. "Lilybug, come help me with these jars," Rose called from the kitchen, her voice warm but tinged with the weariness that had been growing more pronounced lately. The cabin sat along Route 100, a scenic byway that attracted tourists heading to the ski resorts in winter and the lush hiking trails in summer. For as long as Lily could remember, they had made their living selling homemade maple syrup and hand-knitted items to travelers who stopped at their little roadside stand. "Coming, Grandma!" Lily hopped down from her perch and skipped to the kitchen, her blonde curls bouncing with each step. Rose Morgan stood at the stove stirring a pot of maple syrup. At 68, her hands were gnarled from arthritis, but they moved with practiced precision. The morning light caught the silver in her hair, making it shine like polished metal. "Just in time," Rose smiled. "The batch is ready for bottling." Together, they filled glass jars with the amber liquid, Lily carefully applying the labels that she had decorated with drawings of maple leaves and mountains. Each label bore their brand: Morgan's Mountain Maple, a taste of Vermont. "Do you think we'll sell a lot today?" Lily asked, her blue eyes wide with hope. "The weekend tourists will be coming through," Rose nodded, "and your pretty labels always catch their eye." What Rose didn't say was how desperately they needed the sales. The medical bills had been piling up since her last hospital stay, and the property taxes were due soon. But such worries weren't for a child's shoulders. After breakfast, they set up their stand by the road. While Rose arranged the syrup jars and knitted scarves, Lily spread out a blanket nearby and carefully placed her collection of bottle caps on it, creating an intricate pattern only she understood. "What kind of treasure map are you making today?" Rose asked, smiling at her granddaughter's serious expression. "It's a map to find something magical," Lily replied, moving a bright red cap to the center of her design. "When it's finished, I think it will lead to something amazing. This one's special." Rose's heart ached with love for this imaginative child who found magic in discarded metal caps. Lily had been collecting them since she was 4, washing each one carefully and organizing them by color and design. To her, they weren't trash but tokens of possibility, each with its own story and potential. "I believe it will, sweetheart," Rose said, suppressing a cough. The pain in her chest had returned, sharper this time, but she couldn't afford another doctor's visit. Not yet. As the morning warmed, cars began to stop at their stand. Lily charmed the tourists with her knowledge of maple syrup production, explaining the grading system and offering samples with the confidence of a seasoned saleswoman. "She's quite the little entrepreneur," commented a woman in hiking gear as she purchased 3 jars. "She's had to grow up fast," Rose replied quietly, watching as Lily carefully counted change from their cash box. During a lull in customers, Lily returned to her bottle cap map, adding a blue cap she'd found in the parking lot of their local grocery store last week. Each cap had a story: where she'd found it, what she imagined it had seen before becoming part of her collection. "Grandma, look!" Lily pointed excitedly toward the road. "That's the shiniest car I've ever seen." A sleek black Tesla slowed as it approached their stand, its windows tinted against the morning sun. Rose straightened her apron, hoping for a good sale. The car pulled into the gravel turnout and a tall man in an expensive suit emerged. He stretched, looking around at the mountains with the appreciation of someone who rarely saw such views. When his gaze fell on their humble stand, something in his expression softened. "Good morning," he called, walking toward them. "I've been driving for hours. What I wouldn't give for something sweet and authentic right now." "You've come to the right place," Rose answered, gesturing to their display. "We tap our own trees right up there." She pointed to the wooded hillside behind their cabin. As the man examined their products, Lily studied him with unabashed curiosity. He had dark hair peppered with grey at the temples and deep creases around his eyes that suggested he smiled, rarely but genuinely. "I'm Nathan Blackwood," he introduced himself, selecting the largest jar of their premium syrup. "Just passing through on my way to Burlington. Business meeting." He glanced at Lily's bottle cap arrangement. "That's quite the collection you have there." "It's not just a collection," Lily explained seriously. "It's a treasure map." Nathan's eyebrows rose. "A treasure map? That's fascinating. What kind of treasure?" "I don't know yet," Lily admitted. "But when the pattern is just right, it will lead to something magical. That's how treasure maps work." Nathan laughed, a sound that seemed to surprise even him. "I suppose you're right." He handed Rose a $50 bill for the $15 jar to keep the change. "Your stand is a bright spot on a long drive." As he returned to his car with his purchase, Lily watched him with thoughtful eyes. "He seems sad," she observed. "Some people get so busy chasing one kind of treasure that they forget about the other kinds," Rose replied, tucking the generous tip into their emergency fund jar at home later. That evening, as Rose prepared dinner, another coughing fit overtook her. She gripped the counter, waiting for it to pass, unaware that Lily watched from the doorway, her small face pinched with worry. "Grandma, are you sick again?" Lily asked when the coughing subsided. Rose straightened, forcing a smile. "Just a tickle, Lilybug. Nothing to worry about." But that night, when she thought Lily was asleep, Rose sat at the kitchen table with their ledger open before her, calculating how long they could continue before she would need to seek medical help again. The diagnosis from her last visit hung over her like a shadow. Stage 4 lung cancer, treatment options limited. She had no close family except Lily. The child's mother, Rose's daughter Emily, had left when Lily was just an infant, dropping her off with only a note saying she needed to find herself and would return someday. That day had never come. With no father listed on the birth certificate and no relatives to call upon, Rose had raised Lily alone, building their life around the maple syrup business and the small cabin that had been in the Morgan family for generations. Now faced with her own mortality, Rose worried constantly about what would happen to her bright, resilient granddaughter. Social services would place her in foster care. The thought was unbearable. From her bed, Lily listened to the scratch of Rose's pen and the occasional muffled cough. She slipped out from under her quilt and retrieved her favorite bottle cap, a bright red one with a golden crown emblem, from her collection. Holding it tightly, she made a wish that her grandmother would get better, that they would always be together in their cozy cabin by the road. The next morning dawned bright and clear. Lily helped Rose set up their stand, noticing how her grandmother moved more slowly, taking frequent breaks to catch her breath. "We need more of the premium syrup from the shed," Rose said, handing Lily the key. "Can you bring 2 jars, please?" Lily nodded, proud to be trusted with this responsibility. As she carefully made her way to the storage shed behind their cabin, she heard the distinctive hum of an electric engine approaching on the road. Glancing back, she saw the same black Tesla from yesterday slowing down near their stand. Mr. Blackwood was returning. Maybe he'd liked their syrup so much he wanted more. That would be good news. They needed the money, though Grandma never said so directly. Lily hurried to the shed, unlocked it, and selected 2 jars of their darkest, richest syrup. As she turned to head back, a loud screech of tires and a sickening crash shattered the morning quiet. She dropped the key, but clutched the jars tightly as she ran toward the sound, her heart pounding with sudden fear. Rounding the corner of the cabin, she saw that the black Tesla had swerved off the road, apparently to avoid hitting a deer. The vehicle had struck a massive oak tree, its front end crumpled like paper. Rose was already moving toward the accident, but she was slow, too slow. Smoke began to rise from the hood of the car, dark and ominous. Without hesitation, Lily placed the syrup jars safely on their porch steps and ran toward the smoking vehicle. Through the windshield, she could see Mr. Blackwood slumped over the steering wheel, unmoving. "Grandma, he's hurt!" she called out, reaching the car before Rose could make it halfway across the yard. The driver's door was jammed shut. Smoke was thickening, turning to flames near the engine. In that moment, Lily didn't stop to think or be afraid. She grabbed a large rock from their garden border and with all her strength smashed it against the passenger window. The glass shattered inward, tiny fragments raining across the luxury interior of Nathan Blackwood's Tesla. Lily didn't hesitate. She climbed through the broken window, careful to avoid the sharp edges, and reached for the seatbelt release. Her small hands worked quickly, undoing the restraint that held the unconscious man against the steering wheel. "Mr. Blackwood, wake up," she shouted, patting his face the way she'd seen people do in movies. The smoke was getting thicker, making her eyes water and her throat burn. "Please wake up. The car's on fire." Nathan stirred slightly, his eyes fluttering open in confusion. "What? Who?" "It's me, Lily, from the maple syrup stand. Your car hit a tree and it's burning. We need to get out now." The urgency in the child's voice penetrated Nathan's dazed state. He tried to move but winced in pain. "My leg! I think it's trapped." Lily looked down and saw that the dashboard had collapsed, pinning his right leg. The flames were now visible at the front of the car, licking hungrily at the hood. "I'll help you," she insisted, tugging at his arm. "Lean on me. We can do it together." In that moment, facing imminent danger, Nathan found himself placing his trust in this tiny, determined girl. He shifted his weight, using all his strength to pull his injured leg free from the wreckage. With Lily's surprisingly strong grip supporting him, he managed to drag himself across to the passenger side. "Go through the window first," Lily instructed, her voice steady despite the flames that were now consuming the front of the vehicle. "I'll help push you out." Nathan maneuvered his body through the broken window, grimacing in pain as he fell awkwardly onto the gravel outside. The moment he was clear, Lily scrambled out after him. Together, they staggered away from the car, Nathan leaning heavily on the child's shoulder until Rose finally reached them, taking over to support his other side. They had barely made it 20 feet when the gas tank ignited. The explosion sent a fireball into the clear Vermont sky, the shockwave knocking all three of them to the ground. Nathan instinctively threw his body over Lily's, shielding her from the heat and debris. "Are you okay?" he asked when the initial blast subsided, rolling off her and checking for injuries. Lily nodded, her blue eyes wide but remarkably calm. "Are you?" Before Nathan could respond, the wail of sirens cut through the air. Someone driving past must have called 911. Within minutes, the rural road was filled with emergency vehicles, fire trucks, an ambulance, and a police cruiser. The paramedics rushed to assess Nathan's condition, insisting he be transported to the hospital despite his protests. His leg was badly injured, and he had a concussion from hitting the steering wheel. "The little girl," he kept saying as they loaded him into the ambulance. "She saved my life. She broke the window and pulled me out." The paramedics exchanged skeptical glances. It seemed impossible that a child so young could have performed such a rescue, but Rose confirmed the story, her face pale with delayed shock at what her granddaughter had done. "She's always been special," Rose explained, holding Lily close. "Braver than most grown people I know." As the ambulance prepared to depart, Nathan reached out toward Lily. "Thank you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I owe you everything." Lily simply nodded, as if pulling grown men from burning cars was something she did every day. "Get better, Mr. Blackwood," she replied solemnly. At Burlington Medical Center, Nathan drifted in and out of consciousness as doctors worked to stabilize him. His injuries weren't life-threatening, but the concussion had caused temporary memory loss. He remembered fragments of the accident, the deer darting onto the road, the sickening crunch of metal against wood, and then a small figure pulling him from the flames. A child with determination beyond her years. When he fully regained consciousness the next morning, a doctor was reviewing his chart at the foot of the bed. "Mr. Blackwood, I'm Dr. Sarah Reynolds. You're a very lucky man. That crash could have been fatal if you hadn't been pulled from the vehicle." Nathan nodded, wincing at the pain in his head. There was a little girl. She saved me. Is she okay? The child wasn't brought in, Dr. Reynolds assured him. I understand she was unharmed, but we'd like to keep you for observation for another day or two. Standard procedure for concussion cases. I need to thank her properly, Nathan insisted, trying to sit up, and her grandmother. They run a maple syrup stand near where the accident happened. How you can do that after you're released, the doctor said firmly, adjusting his IV. Right now you need rest, and we need to run a few more tests. Nathan sank back against the pillows, frustrated but too weak to argue. As CEO of Blackwood Innovations, a tech company valued at over $1 billion, he was accustomed to giving orders, not taking them. But here in a hospital gown with a throbbing head and bandaged leg, even he had to acknowledge he wasn't in charge. Fine, he conceded, but I want my assistant notified, Tyler Grant. His number is in my phone, if it survived the crash. Your personal effects are in that drawer, Dr. Reynolds indicated. The phone is cracked but seems to be functioning. And Mr. Blackwood, we'll need to draw some additional blood samples. We're participating in a genetic research study, and with your permission, we'd like to include your samples. It's completely voluntary, of course. Nathan waved dismissively. Whatever you need, just make sure Tyler knows where I am. After the doctor left, Nathan managed to reach his assistant, who promised to handle the business meetings scheduled for the week. Then, exhausted by even this small effort, he fell into a restless sleep, his dreams filled with flames and the determined face of a child pulling him towards safety. 2 days later, Dr. Reynolds entered his room with an unusual expression, a mixture of professional composure and personal discomfort. Mr. Blackwood, I need to discuss something with you, she began, closing the door for privacy. It's about the genetic testing we conducted. Nathan frowned. Is there a problem? Cancer? Heart disease? No, nothing like that, she assured him quickly. Your health markers are excellent for a man of 43. This is something else entirely. She paused, choosing her words carefully. The research program we're participating in includes a regional database of genetic profiles. It's primarily designed to study hereditary conditions in the Vermont population. When we entered your profile, we found something unexpected, a direct genetic match within our database. Nathan stared at her blankly. A match? What does that mean? It means, Dr. Reynolds said slowly, that you appear to have a first-degree relative in the area, specifically a biological child. The room seemed to tilt around Nathan. That's impossible. I don't have any children. The science is quite definitive, Mr. Blackwood. There's a 99.9% probability that you're the biological father of a child whose profile is in our database. Nathan shook his head, trying to clear it. There must be a mistake. Who is this supposed child? Dr. Reynolds consulted her tablet. Due to privacy regulations, I can only tell you that it's a 7-year-old girl who was part of a routine screening program at her school last year. I can't disclose her name without proper legal channels. 7 years old, a little girl. Nathan's mind raced back through his past relationships. 7 years ago, he'd been completing his MBA at Dartmouth, focused entirely on launching his tech startup. There had been a few casual relationships, but nothing serious except Rachel, he whispered, the name emerging from a place of buried memories. Rachel Anderson. Dr. Reynolds remained professionally neutral. I can't confirm or deny any names, Mr. Blackwood, but if you believe you know the mother, that would be a starting point for you to pursue this privately, should you choose to do so. Rachel Anderson, a brilliant art student he'd dated during his final semester. Their relationship had been intense but brief. He'd been consumed with his business plans, she with her art. When he left for Silicon Valley to seek investors, they'd agreed to go their separate ways. He'd never heard from her again. I need to find her, Nathan said, more to himself than to the doctor. Rachel and the child. As I said, I can't provide identifying information, Dr. Reynolds repeated, but perhaps you could start by contacting the mother if you know her. After the doctor left, Nathan lay in bed, his mind reeling with the implications. A child. He had a daughter he'd never known about. a 7-year-old girl somewhere in Vermont. Had Rachel tried to contact him? Had she decided he wouldn't want to be involved? Or had she simply moved on with her life, raising their child alone? He needed answers. As soon as he was discharged, he would find Rachel and this child, his child. The next morning, Nathan checked himself out of the hospital against medical advice. His leg still bandaged, but his determination overwhelming any physical discomfort. He rented a car and drove straight to his Burlington penthouse, where he immediately set his assistant to work. "Tyler, I need you to find someone," he instructed, pacing despite the pain in his leg. "Rachel Anderson. We dated at Dartmouth about 8 years ago. Art major, originally from Vermont, I think, and—" He hesitated, the words still strange on his tongue. "I need to find out if she has a daughter. A 7-year-old daughter." Tyler, accustomed to his boss's demanding requests, nodded without question. "I'll get right on it, sir." Within hours, Tyler had compiled a preliminary report. Rachel Anderson had indeed returned to Vermont after graduation. She'd given birth to a daughter 7 years ago at the University Medical Center in Burlington, and then the trail went cold. No current address, no social media presence, no employment. Records for the past 5 years. "It's like she disappeared," Tyler explained, scrolling through his findings. "Last known address was in Montpelier, but that was years ago." Nathan frowned, frustration building. "What about the child? Is there a birth certificate?" Tyler nodded. "Lily Anderson, father listed as unknown." Lily. The name hit Nathan like a physical blow. Lily, the same name as the little girl who had pulled him from the burning car. Could it be possible? Was the universe really that poetic or cruel? "The maple syrup stand," Nathan said suddenly. "The little girl who saved me. Her name was Lily. She lived with her grandmother. What was her last name?" Tyler tapped rapidly on his tablet, pulling up the accident report. "Morgan. The property is registered to Rose Morgan. The child is listed as Lily Morgan." Morgan was Rachel's mother's maiden name, Nathan whispered, the pieces falling into place with dizzying speed. "She always said she'd go back to it if she ever left her father." He stood abruptly, ignoring the pain shooting through his injured leg. "I need to go back there now." "Sir, you're barely out of the hospital," Tyler protested. "Let me make inquiries first, confirm if this is actually your daughter." But Nathan was already grabbing his keys. "The girl pulled me from a burning car, Tyler. If she's my daughter, I need to know, and if her grandmother is who I think she is, I need to see them both. Today." As he drove back toward the small cabin on Route 100, Nathan's mind was a whirlwind of emotions. Shock, confusion, anger at Rachel for never telling him about their child, and an unexpected surge of something he couldn't quite name. Was it longing? The sudden ache of 7 years of fatherhood lost, moments he could never reclaim. The maple syrup stand came into view, but today it was closed, the wooden shutters drawn. Nathan parked and approached the cabin, his heart hammering against his ribs. Before he could knock, the door opened, and there stood Rose Morgan, looking significantly more frail than she had just days ago when he'd bought syrup from her stand. "I've been expecting you," she said quietly, her eyes taking in his bandaged leg and the determination in his face. "You've figured it out, haven't you?" Nathan nodded, words momentarily failing him. Rose stepped back, opening the door wider. "You'd better come in. Lily's out back, working on a new bottle cap map. She's been worried about you." As Nathan stepped into the humble cabin, he knew with absolute certainty that his life was about to change forever. The interior of the Morgan cabin was modest but meticulously kept. Hand-braided rugs covered the worn wooden floors, and the walls were adorned with watercolor paintings of Vermont landscapes, paintings Nathan instantly recognized as Rachel's work. His heart constricted at the familiar brushstrokes, the distinctive way she captured light filtering through trees. Rose gestured toward a simple wooden chair at the kitchen table. "Sit. Your leg must be hurting." Nathan lowered himself onto the chair, suddenly aware of how out of place his tailored suit and Italian shoes looked in this rustic setting. "How long have you known?" he asked quietly. Rose filled a kettle and placed it on the old stove before answering. "That you're Lily's father?" since the moment I saw you buying syrup at our stand." She turned to face him, her expression a complex mixture of emotions. "Rachel showed me pictures of you back then. You haven't changed much, just a few grey hairs and fancier clothes. Why didn't you say something?" Nathan demanded, struggling to keep his voice level. "I had a right to know I had a daughter." "Did you?" Rose's voice hardened slightly. "Rachel tried to tell you she was pregnant. She called your number for weeks after you left for California. You never returned a single call." Nathan ran a hand through his hair, memory fragments surfacing. He'd changed his phone number when he moved west, focused entirely on securing funding for his startup. He'd meant to give Rachel the new number, but then days turned into weeks, and eventually he'd convinced himself that a clean break was better for both of them. "I didn't know," he said, the inadequacy of the words hanging in the air between them. "I swear I didn't know about Lily." Rose's expression softened slightly. "I believe you. Rachel eventually came to the same conclusion, that you weren't deliberately ignoring her, just caught up in your own ambitions." She poured hot water into 2 mugs, adding tea bags. "She was just as driven as you in her own way. Too proud to track you down once your company started making headlines." "Where is she now?" Nathan asked, accepting the mug Rose offered him. "Why isn't she here with Lily?" A shadow passed over Rose's face. "Rachel left when Lily was barely a year old. Said she couldn't be the mother Lily deserved, that her art was calling her to travel, to experience life fully." She sat down across from Nathan, her hands trembling slightly as they wrapped around her own mug. "She left Lily with me temporarily, but the weeks turned into months and the months into years. The postcards stopped coming about 3 years ago. Last one was from Barcelona." Nathan absorbed this information, anger toward Rachel mixing with an unexpected empathy. Hadn't he made a similar choice, prioritizing his career over connections? And Lily? What does she know about her parents? "She knows her mother is an artist who travels the world. I've shown her the postcards, told her stories about Rachel's talent." Rose met his gaze directly. "About you, I've said only that you were someone special to her mother, someone who had important work to do elsewhere." "And now?" Nathan set down his mug. "What do we tell her now?" Rose sighed, a rattling sound that concerned Nathan. "The truth. I suppose she deserves that much. She's young, but she understands more than most adults give children credit for." Before Nathan could respond, the back door swung open and Lily burst in, her cheeks flushed from the cool autumn air. She stopped abruptly when she saw Nathan, her blue eyes, his eyes he now realized, widening in surprise. "Mr. Blackwood, you're okay," she exclaimed, a smile spreading across her face. Then, noticing his bandaged leg, her expression grew serious. "Well, mostly okay." "Thanks to you," Nathan replied, amazed at how steady his voice sounded when his heart was performing gymnastics in his chest. This was his daughter, his child, standing before him with bits of leaves in her hair and a smudge of dirt on her nose. "I was just doing what needed doing," Lily said matter-of-factly, moving to wash her hands at the sink. "Grandma always says we help folks in trouble no matter what." Rose exchanged a glance with Nathan, a silent question passing between them. He nodded slightly. "Lilybug, come sit with us." Rose patted the chair between her and Nathan. "Mr. Blackwood didn't. Just come to thank you. He has something important to tell you." Lily dried her hands on a faded dishcloth and climbed onto the chair, looking curiously between the adults. "Is it about the accident? Because I already told the police everything I saw." "No, sweetheart. It's about, well, it's about your family." Rose reached out to smooth Lily's unruly curls. "Remember how I've told you that your mother met your father when they were both studying at a special school?" Lily nodded. "Dartmouth College. Mom was studying art and my dad was studying business, but then he had to go away for his important work." "That's right," Rose confirmed. "Well, sometimes life works in mysterious ways, bringing people together when they least expect it." She glanced at Nathan, silently urging him to continue. Nathan cleared his throat, searching for words that could possibly explain this situation to a 7-year-old. "Lily, I knew your mother, Rachel, many years ago. We cared for each other. Very much. But I didn't know that after I left she was going to have a baby. He paused, watching Lily's face carefully. That baby was you. Lily's brow furrowed as she processed this information. So you're my dad? The one from Grandma's stories? Nathan nodded, his throat tight. I am. But I didn't know about you. Until yesterday, when the doctors at the hospital discovered it through some special tests they did. Lily sat quietly for a moment, her small hands folded in her lap. Then she looked up at Nathan with those piercing blue eyes. Did you want to know about me? If the doctors hadn't done those tests? The directness of the question stunned Nathan. How could he explain to this child the complicated truth, that he'd been so consumed with building his company, with proving himself, that he'd closed the door on his past without a backward glance? I think, he said carefully, that sometimes adults make choices thinking they're doing what's best, only to realize later they might have been wrong. If I had known about you, Lily, I would have wanted to be part of your life. I'm sorry that I wasn't. Lily considered this, her expression surprisingly mature. That's okay. Grandma says everyone makes mistakes, even grown-ups. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a bright red bottle cap. I found this the day before your accident. It's special. See the crown? I think maybe it was trying to tell me something important was coming. Nathan stared at the small metal disc. In her palm, overwhelmed by this child's capacity for acceptance. It's very special, he agreed, his voice rough with emotion. Rose coughed suddenly, a harsh, racking sound that shook her thin frame. She pressed a handkerchief to her mouth, and when she pulled it away, Nathan saw the alarming spots of red that she quickly tried to hide. Grandma? Lily's voice was small, frightened. I'm fine, Lilybug, Rose insisted, but her pallor and the trembling of her hands told a different story. Why don't you go check on our syrup stock in the shed while I talk to Mr. Blackwood a bit more? Lily hesitated, clearly reluctant to leave her grandmother, but years of obedience won out. Okay, but call if you need me. She slid off her chair and headed for the door, pausing to look back at Nathan. Will you still be here when I get back? Yes, he promised, the word carrying more weight than she could possibly understand. I'll be here. Once Lily was out of earshot, Nathan turned to Rose. You're ill, he stated flatly. How bad is it? Rose sank back in her chair, the brave front she maintained for Lily crumbling slightly. Stage 4 lung cancer. The doctors gave me 6 months. That was 4 months ago. Nathan felt as though he'd been punched in the stomach. Treatment options. Limited at my age and stage, and expensive. Rose gestured around the modest cabin. Everything we have goes to keeping this roof over our heads and food on the table. Lily's needs come first. And after? Nathan could barely voice the question. What arrangements have you made for Lily? Rose's eyes filled with tears. There are no arrangements, no relatives except Rachel, who's unreachable. Lily would become a ward of the state. Her voice broke. The thought of her in foster care, it keeps me awake at night. Nathan leaned forward, his decision already made, though he'd known this child for less than an hour. That won't happen. I'm her father. I'll take care of her. Just like that? Rose asked, a mix of hope and skepticism in her voice. You'll upend your life for a child you just met. She pulled me from a burning car, Nathan said simply. She saved my life once already. Maybe this is my chance to save hers in return. He paused, considering his next words carefully. I have resources, Rose. The best medical care, specialists who might be able to... No, Rose interrupted firmly. I've made my peace. My concern now is only for Lily's future. She studied him intently. Your life in Burlington. It's nothing like what she knows. Penthouse apartments and business meetings. She's a child of these mountains, of bottle caps and maple trees. Children adapt, Nathan argued. And I can adapt too. I don't know the first thing about being a father, but I'm willing to learn. He reached across the table, covering Rose's weathered hand with his own. Let me help you both. Not just with Lily's future, but with making whatever time you have left comfortable and dignified. Rose's resistance wavered visibly. You really mean it, don't you? This isn't just guilt or obligation talking. It's more than that, Nathan admitted, surprising himself with the truth of it. When I look at her, I see possibilities. All the things I've been missing while chasing success. The back door opened again and Lily returned, carrying a jar of maple syrup. We have 3 cases left from the spring harvest, she reported dutifully. Then, noticing the tension in the room, she asked, "Is everything okay?" Rose beckoned her over. "Mr. Blackwood, your father, has made a very generous offer. He wants to help us with the medical bills and make sure we're taken care of." Lily looked at Nathan with newfound interest. "You want to help Grandma get better?" Nathan nodded, not trusting himself to speak. "And," Rose continued gently, "when the time comes that I can't take care of you anymore, he wants you to live with him." Lily's eyes widened. "In the city? What about our cabin? And my bottle caps?" "Your bottle caps would come too," Nathan assured her quickly. "All your special things." Lily considered this seriously, then asked the question that mattered most. To her 7-year-old heart, would Grandma come visit when she's feeling better? Rose and Nathan exchanged a glance heavy with unspoken truth. "Of course," Rose said, her voice almost steady. "As often as possible." Lily nodded, accepting this answer. "Then I think it's okay. But you have to promise to learn about bottle cap maps," she told Nathan solemnly. "They're very important." "I promise," Nathan replied, equally solemn. "Lily, why don't you show your father your collection?" Rose suggested, clearly needing a moment alone. "It's your most precious treasure, after all." Lily brightened at the idea. "It's out back. I was working on a new map when you came." She held out her hand to Nathan expectantly. Taking his daughter's small hand in his, Nathan followed her out the back door, marveling at how completely his life had changed in the span of a few days. From a solitary existence focused on acquisition and achievement to this. A child with his eyes and a collection of discarded metal that she treated like priceless gems. In the yard behind the cabin, Lily led him to a flat rock where dozens of bottle caps were arranged in an intricate pattern. "This is where I do my mapping," she explained. "Each cap has its own special meaning and place." Nathan crouched beside the rock, his injured leg protesting but his curiosity stronger. "Tell me about them," he requested, genuinely interested in understanding this world that meant so much to his newly discovered daughter. "Well, this blue one with the star came from the day Grandma and I went to the lake last summer," Lily began, pointing to a faded cap near the edge of the arrangement. "And this silver one was in the parking lot at the doctor's office when Grandma got her bad news." She continued through her collection, each cap connected to a memory, a hope, or a dream. Nathan listened, gradually understanding that these weren't just random objects to Lily. They were her way of making sense of the world, of creating order from chaos, of believing in magic when reality was often harsh. "And this one," she said finally, picking up the red cap with the crown, "is the most special of all. I found it the day before I met you. I think it was trying to tell me something big was going to happen." She offered it to him. "You can hold it if you want. For luck." Nathan accepted the small metal disc, turning it over in his palm. Such a simple thing to mean so much. "Thank you," he said. "I think I could use some luck right now." Lily studied him with those disconcertingly perceptive eyes. "Are you scared about being my dad?" The question caught him off guard with its directness. "Yes," he admitted after a moment. "I am. I've never been anyone's dad before. I'm afraid I might not be very good at it." Lily nodded understandingly. "That's okay. I've never been anyone's daughter before, except Grandma's. But that's different. We can learn together." She took the bottle cap back from him and placed it carefully in the center of her pattern. "There. Now the map is showing us our way forward." From the cabin's back door, Rose watched this exchange, a bittersweet smile on her lips. She'd been so worried about Lily's future, about what would happen when she was gone. And now, as if by some miracle, this man, this stranger who was also Lily's blood, had appeared just when they needed him most. She hadn't told either of them yet how bad her latest test results were, how the cancer had spread to her bones, how even the Simplest tasks now caused excruciating pain. The doctors had revised their estimate. Not months remaining, but weeks, perhaps days. But watching Lily show Nathan her treasured collection, seeing the genuine interest in his face as he listened to her stories, Rose felt something she hadn't expected. Hope. Not for herself, but for Lily. For this unlikely father-daughter pair who had found each other through a series of improbable events. As the autumn sun began to set behind the mountains, casting long shadows across the yard, Rose made a decision. She would call her lawyer in the morning, set everything in motion to ensure a smooth transition for Lily when the inevitable happened. And she would do everything in her power, in whatever time she had left, to help this father and daughter, forge a bond that would sustain them both through the challenges ahead. Behind her, unseen, the red and gold leaves of a maple tree caught the dying light, blazing briefly like fire before fading into the gathering dusk. A reminder that even endings could hold beauty, and that from ashes, new life could emerge. The next 3 weeks passed in a flurry of activity. Nathan divided his time between his penthouse in Burlington, where he worked remotely while making preparations for Lily's arrival, and the small cabin on Route 100, where he spent evenings and weekends getting to know his daughter. To Lily's delight, he arrived for each visit bearing a new bottle cap for her collection, unusual ones from craft sodas, imported beers, and vintage finds purchased from online collectors. She added each to her growing map, creating an ever-expanding constellation that charted their developing relationship. Rose's condition deteriorated rapidly. The vibrant woman who had run the maple syrup stand became increasingly confined to her bed, though she insisted on sitting up whenever Nathan visited, maintaining a dignity that impressed him deeply. On a crisp November morning, with the first snow of the season dusting the mountains, Rose called Nathan to her bedside while Lily was at school. "It's time to make the final arrangements," she said, without preamble, her voice thin but determined. "My lawyer will be here this afternoon with the guardianship papers. Are you still certain about this, Nathan? Taking on a child will change everything about your life." Nathan sat beside her bed, noting with concern how the illness had ravaged her once strong body. "I've never been more certain of anything," he assured her. "Lily belongs with me. We've already started converting my home office into her bedroom. Tyler's ordered furniture, toys, books, everything a 7-year-old girl could want." Rose smiled weakly. "It's not things she needs most, Nathan. It's stability, patience, understanding that she processes the world differently than most children." "I've noticed," Nathan admitted, "the way she organizes her bottle caps, how she needs certain routines, her sensitivity to textures and sounds. Has she ever been evaluated for being on the spectrum?" Rose finished. "The school counselor suggested it last year. Nothing severe, just some mild sensory processing differences, perhaps a touch of anxiety. We couldn't afford formal testing, but I've done my research." She reached for a worn journal on her bedside table. "Everything I've observed, everything, that helps her when she's overwhelmed. It's all in here. Her triggers, her comforts, her routines." Nathan accepted the journal, handling it with the reverence it deserved, a mother's chronicle of a child's inner workings. "I'll learn it." "Halls," he promised, "and get her whatever support she needs." Rose's eyes filled with tears. "You're not what I expected, Nathan Blackwood. When I saw your fancy car that first day, I thought you'd be different. More arrogant, self-absorbed," Nathan supplied with a self-deprecating smile. "I was, before the accident, before Lily." He looked down at his hands. "She pulled me from that burning car, but in many ways she's still rescuing me. From isolation, from an existence measured only in profit margins and market share." Rose reached out, her fragile hand grasping his with surprising strength. "Promise me something. Anything." Don't let her forget where she came from. This cabin, these mountains, the syrup stand, they're part of who she is. The simplicity of this life has shaped her values. "I promise," Nathan said solemnly. "We'll keep the cabin as a weekend place. Maintain the syrup operation, even if just as a hobby. Her roots will remain here, even as she grows in new directions." Rose nodded, satisfied. "One more thing. In My dresser, bottom drawer. There's a wooden box with Rachel's letters and postcards. Give them to Lily when she's older. She should know her mother's story, complicated as it is." "I will," Nathan assured her, "and if Rachel ever returns—" "You'll do what's right for Lily," Rose finished firmly. "That's all I ask." That afternoon, papers were signed, legal guardianship established, and contingency plans put in place. Rose Morgan, with characteristic foresight, had arranged everything to ensure a smooth transition for her beloved granddaughter. The following week, Rose's condition took a dramatic turn. Nathan was in a board meeting when the call came from Lily's school. He left immediately, instructing Tyler to cancel all appointments indefinitely, and drove at dangerous speeds to reach the rural hospital where Rose had been admitted. He found Lily sitting alone in a sterile waiting room, her small body curled into a plastic chair, clutching her red crown bottle cap like a talisman. "Lily," he said gently, kneeling before her despite his still healing leg. "I'm here now." She looked up, her blue eyes swimming with tears but remarkably composed for a child her age. "The doctors said Grandma is very sick, sicker than before." Nathan nodded, choosing honesty over false comfort. "Yes, she is. Do you want to see her?" Lily straightened her shoulders. "Yes, I need to tell her about my day. I always tell her about my day." Hand in hand, they walked to Rose's room. The old woman lay surrounded by machines, her breathing labored, but her eyes clear as they fell on her granddaughter. "Lilybug," she whispered, mustering a smile. "Come tell me about school." With admirable composure, Lily climbed onto a chair beside the bed and recounted her day. The math quiz she'd aced, the new library book about stars, the pine cone collection she'd started during recess. Rose listened, intently as if memorizing each detail. When Lily finished, Rose turned her gaze to Nathan, a silent message passing between them. He nodded imperceptibly. "Lily," he said quietly, "could you get a cup of water for Grandma? The nurse will show you where." Once Lily had left with the nurse, Rose gripped Nathan's hand. "It's time," she whispered. "The doctors say hours, maybe less. Don't let her see me. At the end. Take her home. Let her remember me as I was." Nathan's throat tightened. "Rose, No speeches," she interrupted with a ghost of her old firmness. "Just promise me you'll love her as fiercely as I have. She's extraordinary, Nathan. Not just brave, but kind in ways this world desperately needs." "I know," he said simply. "I promise." When Lily returned, Rose summoned her strength for one final moment with her granddaughter. "Lilybug, I need you to be very brave now. You're going to go home with your father tonight." Lily's brow furrowed. "But what about you? When will you come home?" Rose exchanged a glance with Nathan before answering. "I won't be coming home. This time, sweetheart. My body is very tired and needs to rest forever." "Like Mrs. Peterson's cat?" Lily asked, referencing their elderly neighbor's pet that had passed away last spring. "Something like that," Rose confirmed gently. "But even though you won't see me anymore, I'll always be watching over you. And you'll keep me alive in your memories and in your heart." Lily absorbed this information with the solemnity that characterized her approach to life's biggest challenges. "Can I show you my new bottle cap map before you go? I've been working on it all week." Rose's eyes filled with tears. "Tell me about it," she requested, knowing there was no actual map to see in the hospital room. For the next several minutes, Lily described in meticulous detail the arrangement of her bottle caps on her bedroom floor, the patterns, the colors, the stories behind each placement. Rose listened as if this was the most important information in the world, nodding and asking questions until her strength began to fade visibly. "I think that's the most beautiful map you've ever made," she whispered finally. "Now give me a hug, Lilybug. The biggest, tightest hug you can manage." Lily wrapped her arms around her grandmother, holding on as if she could keep her anchored to this world through sheer determination. When they finally separated, Rose touched Lily's cheek one last time. "You are my greatest treasure," she said softly, "and now it's time for you to go with your father. He'll take good care of you." "And you'll take good care of him too, won't you?" Lily nodded solemnly. "I promise, Grandma." I love you. I love you too, Lilybug, more than all the stars in the sky. In the hospital parking lot, Nathan lifted Lily into his Range Rover, securing her seatbelt as she clutched her backpack containing her most precious bottle caps. She didn't cry, but her silence spoke volumes about the grief already settling into her young heart. "We're going to the cabin tonight," Nathan told her as they drove away from the hospital, "to pack some of your things. Tomorrow we'll go to Furlington, to your new home." Lily nodded absently, staring out the window at the darkening mountains. "Grandma's not coming back, is she?" "No, sweetheart, she's not," Nathan answered honestly, his own grief tightening his chest. "Will you take care of the maple trees? They need special attention in the spring." "We'll take care of them together," Nathan promised. "The cabin and the syrup stand will still be ours. We'll come on weekends, continue what you and Grandma started." This seemed to satisfy Lily for the moment. They drove the rest of the way in silence, each lost in their own thoughts as the Vermont landscape rolled past, beautiful and indifferent to the human drama unfolding within its borders. At the cabin, Nathan helped Lily pack her clothes, books, and treasured possessions, including her meticulously organized bottle cap collection. They worked methodically, the familiar task providing comfort amid the upheaval. That night, after a simple dinner, Nathan tucked Lily into her bed for the last time in the only home she'd ever known. In the middle of the night, his phone rang, the call he'd been expecting. Rose Morgan had peacefully departed this world. He sat alone at the kitchen table until dawn, surrounded by the echoes of the life Rose had built, the memories embedded in every worn surface, every hand-stitched curtain. He made calls, to the funeral home, to his assistant, to Lily's school, arranging everything with the efficiency that had made him a successful businessman, but with a newfound gentleness that acknowledged the human hearts involved. When Lily woke, he told her simply that Grandma had gone to rest among the stars. She nodded, accepting the news with a stoicism that broke his heart and strengthened his resolve to be worthy of this remarkable child's trust. 2 days later, after a small private service that Lily insisted should include maple cookies, because Grandma would want something sweet to balance the sad, they drove to Burlington, leaving behind the cabin that had sheltered generations of Morgans. Nathan's penthouse occupied the top 2 floors of the most exclusive building in the city. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered panoramic views of Lake Champlain and the Adirondack Mountains beyond. Minimalist furnishings, in shades of grey and white, created an atmosphere of understated luxury and complete child unfriendliness. Lily stood in the vast open-concept living area, looking smaller than ever in her hand-me-down coat and worn sneakers, clutching her backpack of treasures. "It's very big," she observed, her voice echoing slightly in the cavernous space. "It is," Nathan agreed, suddenly seeing his home through her eyes. Cold, impersonal, a showcase rather than a sanctuary. "But your room is cozier. Would you like to see it?" He led her down a hallway to what had once been his home office. Tyler had followed his instructions, transforming the space into a child's bedroom, with a canopy bed, bookshelves filled with age-appropriate titles, and a desk for homework and projects. The walls had been painted a soft blue, and star-shaped lights twinkled from the ceiling. "This is all for me?" Lily asked, her eyes wide with disbelief. "All for you," Nathan confirmed. "And there's a special place for your bottle cap collection." He opened a door to reveal a small alcove with a custom-built display table, its surface divided into sections where her caps could be arranged and rearranged to her heart's content. For Dom. The first time since Rose's passing, Lily's face brightened. She immediately began unpacking her collection, handling each cap with reverence as she placed it in a preliminary pattern on the table. "This is good," she decided finally. "It feels right. The caps like it here." Nathan smiled, relieved that at least one aspect of the transition was going smoothly. "I'm glad. Are you hungry? We could order dinner." "Order?" Lily looked confused. "Don't we make dinner?" It was the first of many cultural disconnects that would surface in the days ahead. Nathan realized with a jolt that he couldn't remember the last time he'd actually cooked a meal, rather than ordering from one of the high-end restaurants that delivered to his building. You know what? You're right. We should make dinner, he said decisively, though his refrigerator contained only expensive sparkling water and a selection of craft beers. Let's go shopping first. That evening, they prepared a simple meal together. Pasta, with jarred sauce and pre-washed salad from the grocery store. Hardly gourmet, but the act of creating it together was more satisfying than any five-star restaurant meal Nathan could recall. As they ate at the sleek dining table designed for entertaining business associates, not family dinners, Lily looked around the sterile space with thoughtful eyes. Your house needs more colors, she observed matter-of-factly. And more soft things. It's too sharp and gray. Nathan laughed, surprised by the accuracy of her assessment. You're right. It is rather gray, isn't it? Maybe you can help me add some color. I could make pictures, Lily offered. Grandma used to put my drawings everywhere. She said they made the cabin happier. I think that's an excellent idea, Nathan agreed, realizing how little of himself was actually reflected in his expensive, professionally decorated home. Over the next few days, Lily's presence began to transform the penthouse in subtle but significant ways. Colorful drawings appeared on the refrigerator, held by whimsical magnets, a handmade blanket from the cabin draped over the pristine white sofa. Bottle caps arranged in intricate patterns graced surfaces previously reserved for architectural. Magazines and design awards. Nathan's staff, his housekeeper, his personal assistant, his chef, initially seemed bewildered by these changes, but adapted quickly to the presence of a child in their employer's formally structured world. Tyler especially became an unexpected ally, arriving one morning with a basket of art supplies and a stack of children's books about fathers and daughters. My sister has kids, he explained with a shrug when Nathan raised an eyebrow. Thought these might help. Lily's first day at her new school, an exclusive private academy where Nathan had made a substantial donation to secure a mid-year placement, was a mixed success. Her academic abilities impressed her teachers, but the social dynamics of wealthy children proved challenging for a girl who had spent her life in a rural cabin selling maple syrup to tourists. They laughed at my lunch, she reported that afternoon, her voice carefully neutral, but her hurt evident in the tight set of her shoulders. And they didn't believe me when I said I saved you from a burning car. Nathan felt a surge of protective anger. What do you mean they laughed at your lunch? I had maple syrup sandwich, Lily explained. Grandma always made it for special days, but Addison Miller said it was poor people food and that her chef makes gourmet bento boxes. Nathan knelt to meet her eyes. There's nothing wrong with maple syrup sandwiches, and there's nothing wrong with the food other families eat, whether they're wealthy or not. Addison Miller might have a chef, but I bet she's never tapped a maple tree or made syrup from scratch like you have. Lily considered this. That's true. She probably doesn't even know where maple syrup comes from. Exactly. And as for saving me from the car, Nathan pulled out his phone and showed her a news article about the accident, which mentioned the heroic actions of a 7-year-old local girl. You can show them this tomorrow, he suggested. But Lily, it doesn't matter if they believe you or not. You know what you did. I know what you did, that's what counts. Lily nodded thoughtfully. Grandma always said that what other people think of you isn't as important as what you know about yourself. Your grandmother was a very wise woman, Nathan said softly. That night, after tucking Lily into bed, Nathan sat in his living room, surrounded by the subtle changes his daughter had already brought to his life. His phone buzzed repeatedly with work emails and messages, but for the first time in his career, he let them go unanswered, more interested in researching local support groups for children who had experienced loss, and therapists specializing in helping kids on the autism spectrum navigate social challenges. As the city lights twinkled beyond his windows, Nathan Blackwood, once defined solely by his business acumen and material success, found himself redefined by the simple, profound title he was just beginning to understand, father. By February, a new rhythm had emerged in the Blackwood penthouse. Morning routines revolved around getting Lily ready for school, a carefully choreographed dance of breakfast choices, weather-appropriate clothing, and ensuring her backpack contained everything needed for the day. Nathan had rearranged his work schedule to drop her off personally each morning, using the car rides to prepare her for the day ahead and learn about her plans and concerns. The afternoons and evenings belonged to Lily, homework at the dining table, art projects spread across the once pristine living room floor, cooking experiments in the kitchen that had previously served mainly as a showpiece. Nathan's meetings were now scheduled during school hours whenever possible, and his once frequent business trips had been dramatically curtailed. The corporate world had taken notice of this shift. Business publications ran speculative pieces about Nathan Blackwood's apparent step back from the helm of his company. Competitors wondered if he was developing a health condition. Board members whispered about his priorities, but Blackwood Innovations continued to thrive under his leadership, albeit a leadership now executed within more defined hours and with a new perspective. Mr. Wilson from the board called again, Tyler reported one afternoon, as Nathan worked in his home office, keeping an eye on the clock for school pickup. He's concerned about your decision to turn down the Singapore expansion opportunity. Nathan nodded, unsurprised. Did you explain our new focus on sustainable technology and local manufacturing? I did, but he seems to think you're having some sort of mid-life crisis. Tyler's tone remained professional, but his expression betrayed his discomfort at relaying this message. Nathan laughed. Maybe I am. Or maybe becoming a father has helped me see what really matters. He glanced at the framed photo on his desk, Lily at the cabin on a weekend visit, her cheeks rosy from the cold, proudly holding a bucket of maple sap. Schedule a board meeting for next week. I'll address their concerns directly. At school, Lily was gradually finding her footing. The initial skepticism about her bottle cap collection and rural background had given way to curiosity from some classmates. Her art teacher, Ms. Holloway, had been particularly supportive, encouraging Lily to incorporate her bottle caps into mixed media projects that impressed even the most socially sophisticated third graders. But nights remained challenging. Dreams of Rose and the cabin frequently woke Lily, sending her padding into Nathan's room in tears, seeking comfort he was still learning how to provide. The child psychologist they visited weekly suggested creating concrete ways for Lily to process her grief. Drawing helps many children express emotions they can't yet verbalize, Dr. Marshall had advised. And given Lily's interest in patterns and mapping, you might encourage her to create visual representations of her feelings. Following this guidance, Nathan had converted one wall of Lily's room into an art space, complete with various papers, paints and materials for collage. It was here that Lily often retreated after particularly difficult days, or when memories of her grandmother became overwhelming. One evening in late February, Nathan found Lily intensely focused on a large piece of paper taped to her art wall. The drawing featured dark, swirling lines surrounding a small figure that he recognized as Lily herself. At the edges, spots of bright color were beginning to appear, like sun breaking through storm clouds. "That's a powerful picture," he said quietly, sitting on the floor beside her. "Can you tell me about it?" Lily continued adding splashes of yellow and orange to the drawing's perimeter. "It's how I feel inside sometimes. Like there's a big, dark storm, but there's also bright parts trying to get in." Nathan nodded, his heart aching at this visual representation of his daughter's grief. "And is the storm getting smaller or bigger?" "Smaller, I think," Lily replied after careful consideration. "Especially when we're at the cabin on weekends, or when we make Grandma's recipes together. These moments of connection and understanding were becoming more frequent, building a bridge between their vastly different worlds." Nathan was learning to listen not just to Lily's words, but to the meanings beneath them, to recognize when her organizational behaviors were providing comfort and when they signaled anxiety. He'd also begun researching schools with specialized programs for children with unique learning styles and sensory needs. The exclusive academy Lily currently attended was academically excellent, but lacked the supportive environment that might help her truly flourish. "Dad?" Lily's voice pulled him from his thoughts. She'd recently begun calling him that instead of Mr. Blackwood, a transition that still sent a surge of emotion through him each time he heard it. "Yes, sweetheart. Why don't other kids have bottle cap collections? Is it because they already have so many toys? The question, so innocent yet so profound, made Nathan pause. I think people collect different things that have special meaning to them. Your bottle caps are special because each one tells a story or holds a memory for you. Lily nodded, considering this. Madison in my class collects designer purses. Her mom buys them for her. But they don't really mean anything. Exactly, Nathan agreed. The value of a collection isn't in how much it costs, but in what it means to the collector. Lily added a final streak of bright red to her drawing before turning to face him fully. I had an idea today, a big idea. Something in her tone, a mixture of excitement and uncertainty, caught Nathan's attention. I'd love to hear it. What if other kids could make bottle cap maps too? Kids who feel sad or scared like I did after Grandma went to the stars. Maybe it would help them the way it helps me. Nathan felt a tingle of recognition, the same feeling he'd experienced when conceptualizing the technology that had launched his company. An idea with potential, with purpose. That's a wonderful thought, Lily. How would we help them make their own maps? Lily's eyes lit up at his interest. We could give them bottle caps and show them how to make patterns. And maybe art supplies. Too, like my wall. She gestured to her drawing space. Ms. Holloway says art helps people feel better when they're sad. She's right about that, Nathan agreed, his mind already working through the logistics of what his daughter was proposing. Where would we find these children who need help? There's a place near school. I see it from the bus sometimes. It has a sign that says Burlington Children's Home. Could kids there use bottle caps and art? Nathan knew the facility, a residential center for children awaiting foster placement or dealing with family crises. The thought of Lily noticing it, making this connection between her own experience and those children's needs, filled him with pride. I think that's exactly the kind of place where your idea could make a difference, he said. What if we create special kits with bottle caps, art supplies, and instructions for making treasure maps? We could start with the children's home and see if other places might want them too. Lily's face broke into a genuine smile, still too rare since Rose's passing. Could we call it Grandma Rose's treasure maps? So she'd be helping too? That's perfect, Nathan assured her, blinking back unexpected tears. She would be so proud of you for thinking of others this way. The following weekend, rather than heading straight to the cabin as was their custom, they detoured to craft stores and recycling centers, gathering supplies for prototype kits. Lily was meticulous in her selections, insisting on a variety of bottle cap styles and colors, so everyone can find caps that speak to them. Nathan watched her carefully curating these collections of discarded items that most people wouldn't look at twice, and saw something he'd missed in his years of chasing. Wealth and status, the profound value of finding meaning in the overlooked, of transforming the ordinary into something precious. By Sunday evening, they had assembled 20 kits, each containing 50 assorted bottle caps, a canvas board, paints, markers, glue, and a handwritten note from Lily explaining how to create a treasure map to help navigate difficult feelings. On Monday, Nathan made calls to the Burlington Children's Home, arranging a visit to introduce Lily's project. The director, initially skeptical of yet another wealthy benefactor seeking a tax write-off, quickly warmed to the genuine nature of the proposal, especially when Nathan explained that it had been entirely Lily's idea. Children helping children, that's something special, the director acknowledged. We'd be happy to have you visit this week. The children's home visit became a turning point for both Lily and Nathan. Watching his socially hesitant daughter confidently explain her bottle cap mapping technique to a group of curious children, some younger, some older, all carrying their own burdens of loss or trauma, Nathan witnessed a transformation. Lily's natural empathy and serious, straightforward manner connected with these children in ways that well-meaning adult interventions often couldn't. See, you can make patterns that show how you feel inside, she explained, demonstrating with her own collection. The caps can be sad feelings or happy memories or people you miss. When you arrange them in a way that feels right, it's like making a map to help you find your way when you feel lost. A small boy with solemn eyes and a fading bruise on his cheek asked, Can my map show being scared? Yes, Lily answered without hesitation. My maps showed being scared a lot after my grandma went to the stars. You can use dark caps for scared feelings and bright ones for brave feelings. By the end of the session, 20 children had created their own unique maps, expressing emotions they perhaps couldn't yet verbalize, but could arrange in physical form. The staff reported it was the most engaged many of them had been in any activity. Driving home, Nathan glanced at Lily in the rearview mirror. She sat quietly, looking out the window with a thoughtful expression that reminded him forcefully of Rose. You did something incredible today, he told her. You gave those children a tool to help them through hard times. Lily continued gazing out the window. It felt good, she said finally, like how Grandma always said, helping others is the best medicine for your own hurts. That night, after Lily was asleep, Nathan sat at his desk, sketching out plans for what would become the Rose Morgan Foundation. The concept was elegantly simple. Art therapy kits centered around found objects like bottle caps, distributed to children's shelters, hospitals, and grief support programs across Vermont, eventually expanding nationwide. He envisioned workshops led by art therapists, training materials based on Lily's intuitive approach, research partnerships with child psychology departments at universities. The foundation would be separate from Blackwood Innovations, but could leverage the company's logistics and distribution networks. As the idea took shape, Nathan felt a sense of purpose he hadn't experienced since the early days of launching his company. But this was different, not driven by ambition or the desire to prove himself, but by the wish to honor Rose's memory and support his daughter's healing journey. The next morning, he presented the concept to Lily over breakfast, explaining in age-appropriate terms how they could expand her bottle cap project to help many more children. Would I still get to teach kids about the maps? She asked, her primary concern immediately apparent. Absolutely, Nathan assured her. You would be the inspiration and the heart of the whole project. We'd just be helping your idea reach more children who need it. Lily nodded, satisfied. Grandma always said that even little things can make big differences if they're done with love. She was right, Nathan agreed, once again struck by the wisdom Rose had instilled in this extraordinary child. And this idea of yours is going to make a very big difference indeed. Over the next few weeks, Nathan worked with his legal team to establish the foundation, with Lily as the honorary chairperson and himself as acting director. He reduced his role at Blackwood Innovations to part-time strategic advisor, appointing his longtime COO as interim CEO, a move that shocked the business world but felt increasingly right as the foundation took shape. You're really doing this, Tyler remarked one afternoon as they reviewed the foundation's incorporation documents, stepping back from the company you built from nothing to run a non-profit distributing bottle caps to disadvantaged kids. Nathan looked up from the papers, sensing the unasked question. Does that seem crazy to you? Tyler considered for a moment. 3 months ago I would have said yes, but seeing you with Lily, seeing how she's changed you, it makes a strange kind of sense. He hesitated, then added, You seem happier, despite everything. I am, Nathan realized aloud. Not always and not completely. There's still so much Lily and I are working through, but there's a fullness to life now that wasn't there before. The Foundation's first official event was held at Burlington Children's Home on a bright spring day. Local media had been invited to cover the launch, and a small crowd gathered as Lily, standing beside Nathan on a makeshift stage, explained the concept of bottle cap treasure maps to the assembled guests. Everyone has hard feelings sometimes, she said, her clear voice carrying across the suddenly silent audience. When my grandma went to the stars, I felt like I was lost in a storm, but making maps with my bottle caps helped me find my way. I want other kids to have maps too, so they don't feel so lost. As applause broke out, a reporter stepped forward. Lily, I understand you're also the little girl who saved your father from a car accident last fall. That was incredibly brave. Are you always so courageous? Lily considered the question with characteristic seriousness. I'm not always brave, she admitted. Sometimes I'm scared of the dark and of being alone, But Grandma taught me that being brave doesn't mean not being scared. It means doing what needs to be done even when you are scared. The reporter turned to Nathan. Mr. Blackwood, you've stepped back from active leadership of your company to focus on this foundation. What prompted such a dramatic life change? Nathan placed a supportive hand on Lily's shoulder. When you're pulled from a burning car by a 7-year-old who turns out to be the daughter you never knew you had, it tends to reorganize your priorities. His voice softened. Lily and her grandmother taught me that true wealth isn't measured in dollars or stock options, but in connections, in purpose, in the difference you make in others' lives. As the event concluded and volunteers began distributing kits to the children's home residents, Nathan noticed Lily standing slightly apart, her expression pensive, as she watched a small girl carefully arrange silver bottle caps in a circular Manhattan. "What are you thinking about?" he asked, joining her. "Grandma would like this," Lily said confidently. "She always said every child deserves to believe in magic, especially on dark days." Nathan felt his throat tighten with emotion. She was right. And thanks to you, these children are finding a little magic today. Lily slipped her hand into his, a gesture that had become more natural over the months but still filled him with quiet wonder. "Dad, I think our treasure map is working. We're finding our way together." Looking down at his daughter's upturned face, Nathan Blackwood, once defined solely by his business empire, understood with perfect clarity that the greatest treasure he would ever find was standing right beside him, holding his hand and teaching him daily about courage, resilience, and the extraordinary power of ordinary objects infused with meaning and purpose. Summer arrived in Vermont with lush greenery and warm breezes, transforming Burlington into a vibrant playground of lakeside activities and outdoor festivals. For Lily, who had completed her first semester at the new specialized school Nathan had found for her, the season brought a freedom she embraced wholeheartedly. For Nathan, it marked 6 months of fatherhood, 6 months of profound change, steep learning curves, and unexpected joy. The Rose Morgan Foundation had blossomed beyond their initial expectations. What began as a simple idea to share Lily's bottle cap mapping technique had evolved into a comprehensive art therapy program implemented in children's facilities across 3 states. Academic researchers were documenting the effectiveness of the approach, particularly for children with trauma histories or on the autism spectrum. Lily had become the unofficial face of the foundation, her earnest explanations of how to create treasure maps resonating with children and adults alike. A short documentary about the program, featuring Lily demonstrating her mapping technique, had gone viral online, bringing national attention to their work. With school out for summer, Nathan had arranged his schedule to spend more time at the cabin, maintaining the maple syrup operation, as he'd promised Rose. They had hired local teenagers to help with the tourist stand, but Nathan and Lily handled much of the production themselves, learning the intricate process that Rose had managed for decades. On a particularly beautiful July morning, they were at the cabin preparing for the weekend rush of tourists. Lily was carefully applying her hand-designed labels to jars of syrup, while Nathan checked inventory in the storage shed. "Dad," Lily called. From the porch, her voice tinged with excitement. "There's a lady taking pictures of our stand." Nathan emerged from the shed to see a slender woman with a professional camera photographing their rustic syrup display. Something about her posture, the way she tilted her head as she framed her shot, triggered a flash of recognition that he couldn't immediately place. "Can I help you?" he called, approaching the stand. The woman lowered her camera and turned toward him. The shock of recognition was immediate and mutual. "Nathan?" she asked, her voice exactly as he remembered it. "Nathan Blackwood." "Rachel," he replied, the name coming out as barely more than a whisper. Rachel Anderson stood before him, hardly changed from the woman he'd known 8 years ago. Her dark hair was shorter now, cut in a stylish bob that framed her face, and fine lines had appeared at the corners of her eyes, but she was unmistakably the art student he'd fallen for during his MBA program. Before either could speak further, Lily appeared at Nathan's side, looking curiously between the 2 adults. "Do you know each other?" she asked, her perceptive gaze taking in their stunned expressions. Rachel's eyes widened as they fell on Lily, recognition and disbelief washing over her face. "Lily?" she breathed, taking an involuntary step forward. Is that you?" Nathan placed a protective hand on Lily's shoulder. "Lily, this is Rachel Anderson. She's—" He hesitated, uncertain how to navigate this unexpected moment. "My mother," Lily finished matter-of-factly. "You look like the pictures Grandma kept." Rachel seemed frozen, camera hanging forgotten from her hand. "I didn't know. I was just passing through, documenting Vermont artisans for a travel magazine. I saw the sign for Morgan's Mountain Maple and thought—" She trailed off, visibly struggling to process the situation. "How is this possible? You two together? Where's Rose?" Nathan felt Lily tense beneath his hand. "Perhaps we should talk inside," he suggested, keeping his voice carefully neutral for Lily's sake, despite the tumult of emotions within. In the cabin's kitchen, the heart of the home that had changed, so little since Rachel had left her infant daughter there 6 years before, an uncomfortable silence settled as Nathan prepared coffee and Lily arranged her bottle caps on the table, seemingly absorbed in her mapping but undoubtedly listening to every word. "Rose passed away last November," Nathan finally said, placing mugs on the table. "Lung cancer." Rachel closed her eyes briefly, pain flickering across her features. "I didn't know. I'm so sorry. I should have been here." "Yes, you should have," Nathan agreed, unable to keep the edge from his voice. "She raised your daughter alone for 6 years." "Our daughter," Rachel corrected quietly, glancing at Lily, "though I forfeited any right to call her that long ago." Nathan sat down, gathering his thoughts. "How much do you know about what's happened since you left?" "Almost nothing," Rachel admitted. "I sent postcards for a while, but I was running from myself, from responsibilities I wasn't ready for." She looked directly at Lily, who was carefully arranging red caps in a spiral pattern. "I convinced myself Rose was giving Lily a better life than I could. Eventually, it became easier not to think about what I'd left behind." "And now?" Nathan asked, the question loaded with implications. Rachel's eyes moved between father and daughter, taking in their easy companionship, the subtle signs of their bond. "Now I'm a travel photographer based in Barcelona. I document artisans and cultural traditions around the world. I'm here in Vermont on assignment." She hesitated. "I'm not here to disrupt your lives. I didn't even know you were in Lily's life, Nathan. How did that happen?" Briefly, Nathan explained the accident, Lily's rescue, the genetic testing that had revealed their relationship, and Rose's passing that had brought them together permanently. As he spoke, he watched Rachel's expression shift from shock to wonder, to something like regret. "She saved your life," Rachel whispered when he finished. "Of course she did. Even as a baby, she had this determination, this old soul quality." She looked at Lily again. "You were always extraordinary." Lily glanced up from her bottle caps. "I'm making a map of today," she explained, gesturing to her arrangement. "The red caps are for big feelings. There are a lot of big feelings today." Rachel smiled tentatively. "I can see that. May I ask what the blue caps represent?" "Questions," Lily replied simply. "I have a lot of those too." The directness of this response seemed to catch Rachel off guard. She looked to Nathan, who merely raised an eyebrow as if to say, "She's always like this, honest and perceptive." "I imagine you do have questions," Rachel acknowledged, "and you deserve answers if you want them." Lily considered this, adding another blue cap to her pattern. "Why did you leave?" "Grandma said it was because you needed to find yourself, but people aren't usually lost unless something scared them away." The insightfulness of the question hung in the air. Nathan watched Rachel carefully, equally interested in her response. "That's a very good observation," Rachel said finally. "You're right. I was scared. Not of you. Never of you. You were perfect." She took a deep breath. "I was scared of failing you, of not being the mother you deserved. I was 23 with dreams of traveling the world, capturing images that told important stories. I didn't know how to reconcile that with being someone's mother. So you chose your dreams instead of me," Lily stated without accusation, simply clarifying. Rachel flinched slightly. "Yes, It's not a choice I'm proud of, but it's one I made. I told myself you'd be better off with Rose, who knew how to be a wonderful mother, while I figured out who I was meant to be. And did you figure it out? Lily's blue eyes, so like Nathan's, fixed on Rachel with disconcerting intensity. Parts of it, Rachel admitted. I've built a career I'm proud of. I've seen incredible places, met amazing people, but there's always been a lily-shaped hole in my life that nothing else could fill. She glanced at Nathan. I never told him about you. That was wrong of me. I convinced myself he was too focused on his career to want a child, just as I was too focused on my ambitions. Nathan felt a complex mixture of anger and understanding wash through him. You were right about me then, he acknowledged reluctantly. I was consumed with building my company. I might not have been ready for fatherhood. And now, Rachel asked softly. Now it's the most important thing in my life, Nathan replied without hesitation. Lily changed everything. A silence fell, broken only by the gentle click of bottle caps as Lily continued working on her map. Finally, she spoke again. Do you want to be my mom now? She asked Rachel, the question startlingly direct. Rachel seemed taken aback by the bluntness of the inquiry. I don't know if it works that way, Lily. I can't just walk back into your life and claim a title I haven't earned. That's true, Lily agreed thoughtfully. Grandma said titles have to be earned through actions, not just words. She looked up. At Rachel. But maybe you could be my friend first. I'd like to know about the places you've seen. I have a collection of postcards you sent, but they stopped coming. The simplicity of this offer, friendship rather than immediate forgiveness or rejection, seemed to move Rachel deeply. I would be honored to be your friend, Lily, and to tell you about all the places I've been. As they continued talking, Nathan excused himself to check on the syrup stand, needing a moment to process this unexpected development. Outside, leaning against the porch railing, he breathed in the familiar scent of pine and earth, trying to sort through his jumbled emotions. Part of him wanted to protect Lily from potential disappointment if Rachel disappeared from her life again. Another part recognized that his daughter had a right to know her mother, to form her own relationship and opinions, and somewhere beneath these paternal concerns lurked more personal feelings, old anger at Rachel's disappearance, conflicted memories of their relationship, and the uncomfortable awareness that their past choices had profoundly shaped an innocent child's life. His phone vibrated in his pocket. A text from Tyler marked urgent. Opening it, he found a cryptic message. Call immediately. Issue with former partner Reynolds. Concerns Lily's safety. A chill ran through Nathan despite the summer heat. Victor Reynolds had been his first business partner there at the founding of Blackwood Innovations. Their partnership had dissolved acrimoniously 3 years ago when Nathan had discovered Reynolds diverting company funds for personal use. The legal battle had been ugly, with Reynolds ultimately forced out of the company he had helped build, his reputation in tatters. Stepping further from the cabin, Nathan called Tyler. What's going on? He asked without preamble. Reynolds has been making inquiries about Lily, Tyler reported, his voice tense. One of our security team picked up on it. He's hired a private investigator to dig into the circumstances of how you discovered she was your daughter. Nathan's grip tightened on the phone. Why would he care about my personal life? We think he's looking for leverage, Tyler explained. He's nearly bankrupt from legal fees and bad investments. The word is he's desperate and blames you for everything. But what could he possibly hope to gain by investigating Lily? Tyler hesitated. This is where it gets concerning. The PI has been asking questions about the car accident, specifically whether it truly was an accident. The implication struck Nathan like a physical blow. Are you saying Reynolds might have had something to do with the crash? We don't know for certain, Tyler admitted. But our security team found evidence that someone accessed your vehicle maintenance records the week before the accident, and Reynolds does have a background in mechanical engineering. Nathan's mind raced. The accident that had nearly claimed his life, that would have, if not for Lily's intervention, might have been deliberate sabotage. The thought was almost too horrible to contemplate. I want a complete security assessment, he instructed. Full protection for Lily, effective immediately, and I want every shred of evidence against Reynolds compiled for law enforcement. Already in progress, Tyler assured him. But Nathan, there's more. Reynolds knows about the foundation, about Lily's public role. He's been making veiled comments online about questioning your fitness as a guardian and suggesting there might be issues of neglect that authorities should investigate. That's absurd, Nathan snapped. Lily is thriving. Any investigation would confirm that. Of course, but even baseless allegations can cause disruption, especially with your unconventional path to parenthood. Reynolds seems intent on using Lily to hurt you, one way or another. After ending the call, Nathan stood motionless, processing this new threat. Behind him, he heard the cabin door open. "Dad," Lily called, "Rachel's going to stay for lunch. Is that okay?" Turning, Nathan forced a smile. Of course. Seeing Rachel in the doorway behind Lily, he added, "Actually, I'd like to speak with Rachel privately for a moment, if that's all right." Once Lily had returned inside, Nathan quickly explained the disturbing development. "I don't know what Reynolds is planning, but I need to ensure Lily's safety. We'll be returning to Burlington this afternoon, instead of staying the weekend." Rachel's expression had grown increasingly concerned as he spoke. "This sounds serious. Is there anything I can do to help?" Nathan considered her offer. Despite their complicated history, Rachel was Lily's biological mother. If there was any threat to their daughter, she deserved to know. Actually, yes, he decided. Having you reappear in Lily's life right now could be beneficial in an unexpected way. If Reynolds tries to challenge my guardianship, having you visibly supportive of our arrangement would help counter any allegations. Of course, Rachel agreed immediately. "I have no intention of disrupting the life you've built with her. It's clear you're an excellent father." She hesitated. "I was planning to return to Spain next week, but I could extend my stay, for Lily's sake." Nathan nodded, relief mingling with lingering wariness. "Thank you. For now, let's not alarm Lily with any of this. As far as she's concerned, we're just being cautious." They returned to the cabin where Lily had set the table for lunch, carefully placing bottle caps beside each plate. A blue one for Nathan, a green one for Rachel, and her special red crown cap for herself. "For our treasure map of today," she explained when they noticed. "So we remember." Over a simple meal of sandwiches and homemade maple cookies from Rose's recipe, they maintained a careful normalcy, with Rachel sharing stories of her travels and Lily asking thoughtful questions about different cultures and landscapes. Nathan participated while mentally cataloguing security measures and legal precautions. As they prepared to leave for Burlington, Rachel knelt to Lily's level. "I have to go back to my hotel now, but I'd like to see you again soon if that's okay with you and your dad." Lily considered this with characteristic seriousness. "I think that would be good. Maybe you could come to our penthouse and see my bottle cap display wall. Dad built it specially for my collection." "I'd love that," Rachel said sincerely, clearly touched by the invitation. After exchanging contact information with Nathan and promising to call the next day, Rachel departed, leaving father and daughter to lock up the cabin. "She seems nice," Lily observed as they drove toward Burlington. "Different from Grandma's stories, but nice." "People change," Nathan replied carefully. "The Rachel I knew years ago and the Rachel who left you with Rose. They're different versions of the same person. The Rachel we met today seems to have changed again." Lily nodded, processing this concept. "Like how you were different before you knew you were my dad?" "Exactly like that," Nathan agreed, once again impressed by his daughter's perceptiveness. That evening in the penthouse, as Lily arranged her bottle caps in a new configuration on her display wall, Nathan received another call from Tyler, the E. "Investigation is progressing," his assistant reported. "We've found evidence on Reynolds' laptop of research into brake line tampering, and his financial records show a payment to a mechanic with a criminal record the week before your accident." Nathan's blood ran cold. "That's enough for the police to get involved." "Already happening. Detective Sarah Martinez from Burlington PD will be in touch tomorrow. She specializes in complex cases like this." After ending the call, Nathan stood in the doorway of Lily's room, watching her methodical arrangement of bottle caps. The thought that someone had deliberately tried to harm him, and in doing so had nearly prevented him from ever knowing his daughter, filled him with a cold fury unlike anything he'd experienced in business battles or boardroom confrontations. "Is something wrong, Dad?" Lily asked without looking up from her work. "You're standing very still." "Just thinking," Nathan replied, making an effort to relax his posture. "What are you mapping tonight?" "The future," Lily answered, placing a bright yellow cap at the center of her display. "See this? It's the sun. Around it I'm putting all the people who matter." She carefully positioned a blue cap. "That's you." A green cap joined it. "That's Rachel." A purple cap went beside them. "And that's Grandma watching from the stars." The simple beauty of her worldview momentarily eased Nathan's concerns. Whatever threats loomed from Reynolds or other shadows of his past, they would face them together, guided by the unique wisdom of a child who saw patterns and possibilities where others saw only random events or discarded objects. As he tucked her into bed later, Lily asked drowsily, "Will Rachel really come to visit tomorrow?" "I believe she will," Nathan answered truthfully. "She seems very interested in getting to know you better." "Good," Lily murmured, already drifting towards sleep. "I want to ask her about Barcelona, and I want to show her our foundation. Maybe she could take pictures for us." "That's a wonderful idea," Nathan agreed, smoothing her hair gently. "Sleep well, treasure mapper." After Lily fell asleep, Nathan moved through the penthouse, checking security systems and window locks with newfound vigilance. Tomorrow would bring police investigations, potential confrontations, and the continuing navigation of Rachel's unexpected reappearance in their lives. But tonight, watching the gentle rise and fall of his daughter's chest as she slept peacefully, Nathan Blackwood, tech mogul turned devoted father, reaffirmed the vow he'd made to Rose months ago. He would protect Lily with everything he had, not just from physical threats, but from anything that might dim the extraordinary light she brought to a world too often focused on the wrong kinds of treasure. The investigation into Victor Reynolds moved with unexpected swiftness. Detective Martinez, a sharp-eyed woman with 20 years of experience, recognized the seriousness of the situation immediately. The evidence Tyler had compiled proved compelling. Reynolds' browser history showed searches on car sabotage. His financial records revealed suspicious payments, and most damning of all, security camera footage from a gas station near the cabin captured him watching Nathan's Tesla drive past the day before the accident. "We've brought him in for questioning," Detective Martinez informed Nathan 3 days after their initial meeting. "Based on the evidence, we're charging him with attempted homicide and several related offenses. His bail hearing is tomorrow, but given the severity of the charges and his financial instability, I expect he'll remain in custody through the trial." Nathan received this news with mixed emotions: relief that the threat was contained, anger at the depth of Reynolds' betrayal, and lingering unease about how close he had come to losing everything before he even knew what he had. "What about his claims regarding Lily?" Nathan asked, his primary concern still his daughter's well-being. "Completely unfounded," Martinez assured him. "We've reviewed his statements, and they're clearly malicious attempts to cause disruption. There's no basis for any investigation into your guardianship. In fact, your parenting choices have been exemplary by all accounts." With Reynolds in custody and the immediate danger past, life gradually returned to a new normal, one that now included Rachel's regular presence. True to her word, she had extended her stay in Vermont indefinitely, renting a small apartment in Burlington and carefully building a relationship with the daughter she had abandoned years before. To Nathan's surprise, Rachel proved to be a thoughtful addition to their lives rather than a complication. She respected the boundaries he established, never attempting to override his parental authority or disrupt the routines that helped Lily feel secure. Instead, she offered a complementary presence, bringing her artistic perspective to Lily's projects, sharing carefully chosen stories from her travels, and eventually contributing her professional photography skills to the Foundation's promotional materials. "I'm not trying to replace Rose or compete with you," she explained to Nathan one evening as they sat on his balcony after Lily had gone to bed. "I know I forfeited my right to make maternal claims years ago. I'm just grateful for whatever role you're willing to let me have in her life." Nathan studied Rachel's face in the soft glow of the balcony lights, seeing both the ambitious young artist he had known and the more grounded woman she had become. "You've changed," he observed. "Travel does that," she replied with a small smile. "Seeing how people live across the world, what they value, how they connect, it puts your own choices in perspective." She looked out at the Burlington skyline. "Finding Lily again, seeing the remarkable person she's becoming, it's forced me to confront the magnitude of what I walked away from." "Are you planning to stay in Vermont permanently?" Nathan asked, the question he'd been avoiding for weeks. Rachel turned to face him directly. "I've been offered a position at the Burlington Arts Center, developing photography programs for underprivileged youth. I'm considering it." "Because of Lily?" "Partly," Rachel admitted, "but also because I'm tired of constantly moving, of documenting other people's lives without building my own. Maybe it's time to put down roots." Nathan nodded, processing this information. "Lily would be happy to have you nearby, and the foundation could certainly use your visual storytelling skills." "And you?" Rachel asked quietly. "How would Nathan Blackwood feel about me becoming a permanent fixture in Burlington?" The question hung between them, laden with history and possibilities. Before Nathan could formulate a response, his phone chimed with a message from Lily's room, the monitoring system they'd established for nights when she had nightmares. "Dad?" came Lily's voice through the speaker. "I had the burning car dream again. Can you come?" "Be right there, treasure mapper," he responded immediately. Rachel stood. "I should go. Tell Lily I'll see her tomorrow for the foundation event." Nathan walked her to the door, their conversation unfinished but not forgotten. Something was shifting between them, not a rekindling of old romance, but perhaps the beginning of a different kind of partnership, centered around the extraordinary child they had created together. The next day dawned bright and clear, perfect weather for the Rose Morgan Foundation's first anniversary celebration. In just 1 year, they had distributed over 10,000 art therapy kits to children across the country, established partnerships with major children's hospitals and trauma centers, and launched research studies on the effectiveness of the bottle cap mapping technique for children with various emotional and developmental needs. The event was being held at Burlington's Lakefront Park, with art stations where children could create their own bottle cap maps, presentations from therapists about the program's impact, and a special exhibit of artwork created by kit recipients. At the center of it all was Lily, now 8 years old, confidently demonstrating her mapping technique to visitors. "You need to listen to what the caps are telling you," she explained seriously to a small group of children gathered around her display table. "Each one has its own story and feeling. When you put them together in the right pattern, they help you understand your own story better." Nathan watched from a short distance away, his chest tight with pride. The shy, grieving child who had pulled him from a burning car had blossomed into this poised young person, using her unique perspective to help others navigate their own difficulties. "She's remarkable," said a voice beside him. Rachel had appeared, with her camera, capturing candid shots of the event. "I can't take any credit, but I'm ridiculously proud anyway." "Rose deserves most of the credit," Nathan acknowledged. "She laid the foundation for who Lily is becoming. We're just building on it." As the day progressed, the event attracted more attention than they had anticipated. Local media covered the foundation's work, interviewing both Nathan and Lily about their journey from tragedy to purpose. Several prominent philanthropists expressed interest in supporting the foundation's expansion, impressed by the simple yet effective approach to childhood trauma recovery. The highlight of the day was Lily's speech, something she had insisted on preparing herself with only minimal help from her father. Standing on a small stage wearing a dress adorned with bottle caps sewn along the hem, a creation she and Rachel had designed together, she addressed the gathered crowd with remarkable composure. "A year ago I lost my grandmother, who was the person who loved me most in the world," she began, her clear voice carrying across the hushed audience. I was very sad and scared about what would happen next. My bottle cap maps helped me find my way through the darkness. She paused, looking out at the sea of faces. Then I discovered something amazing. I wasn't alone. I found my dad, who didn't know about me before but loves me very much now. And recently my mum came back into my life too. But I also learned that many children don't have people to help them when they're sad or scared. Nathan felt Rachel's hand slip into his as they listened to their daughter's words. That's why we created Grandma Rose's treasure maps, Lily continued, because every child deserves to have a way to make sense of their feelings, even on the darkest days. The magic was never really in the bottle caps themselves. It was in believing that something good can always happen, that treasures can be found even in things other people throw away. A ripple of emotion passed through the crowd. Parents pulled children closer, older attendees wiped away tears, and healthcare professionals nodded in recognition of the profound wisdom in this child's simple philosophy. So if you're feeling lost, Lily concluded, try making your own map. It doesn't have to be with bottle caps, it can be with anything that feels special to you. The important thing is to believe that your map will lead you somewhere better, somewhere where you feel safe and loved. Thank you. The applause was thunderous. As Lily stepped down from the stage, she was immediately embraced by both Nathan and Rachel, a family tableau that would appear on the front page of the Burlington Free Press the following day. Remainder of the summer passed in a blur of foundation activities, weekend trips to the cabin to maintain the syrup operation, and the gradual integration of Rachel into their lives. By August, she had accepted the position at the Burlington Arts Center and found a more permanent apartment just a few blocks from Nathan's penthouse. Victor Reynolds's case moved through the legal system, his initial bravado crumbling in the face of overwhelming evidence. He eventually accepted a plea deal that would keep him incarcerated for a significant period, removing that shadow from their lives. As the new school year approached, Lily faced it with confidence rather than anxiety. Her specialized school had proven to be an excellent fit, with teachers who understood her unique learning style and classmates who appreciated rather than mocked her bottle cap collection and thoughtful demeanor. The evening before the first day of school, Lily engaged in what had become a tradition, creating a special bottle cap map to mark significant transitions. Nathan found her in her room, carefully arranging caps on her display wall. "This is a big one," she explained as he sat beside her on the floor. "It's a map of our whole journey." Nathan examined the intricate pattern she had created. At the center was her special red crown cap, surrounded by concentric circles of other caps, blue ones representing him, green ones for Rachel, purple for Rose, and an outer ring of multicolored caps symbolizing all the children helped by the foundation. "It's beautiful," he said sincerely. "What does this particular arrangement mean?" Lily considered the question with her characteristic thoughtfulness. "It shows how one person at the center can create ripples that touch many others. Grandma did that for me, and now we're doing it for other kids." "That's a profound observation," Nathan remarked, continually amazed by his daughter's depth of understanding. "Dad?" Lily asked, still focused on adjusting a cap's position slightly. "Are you and Mom going to get married?" The question caught Nathan completely off guard. "What makes you ask that?" Lily shrugged. "You look at each other. The way people do in movies sometimes. And she's staying in Burlington now. And yesterday, when she was helping with foundation paperwork, Tyler called you the family when he brought in the mail." Nathan smiled at his daughter's observational skills. "Rachel and I have a complicated history, Lily. We're still figuring out what our relationship is now as adults and as your parents. But whatever happens between us, it won't change how either of us feels about you." Lily nodded, accepting this answer. "I think it would be okay if you did. Get married, I mean, but only if your bottle caps fit together properly in a map." Nathan laughed softly at this perfect Lily logic. "That's an excellent way to think about it." Later that evening, after Lily was asleep, Nathan found himself on the balcony again, contemplating his daughter's innocent question. Rachel had indeed become a more constant presence in their lives, and something was definitely rekindling between them. Not the passionate but ultimately incompatible connection of their youth, but something more measured, more mature, built on shared purpose and the profound bond of parenthood. His phone buzzed with a text from Rachel. Lily called to wish me good night and mentioned she asked if we were getting married. Sorry if that was awkward. Nathan smiled and replied, she has her grandmother's directness, told her our bottle caps need to fit together properly first. Rachel's response came quickly, wise beyond her years. For what it's worth, I think our caps might be aligning better these days. The exchange left Nathan feeling unexpectedly hopeful. Whatever the future held for them as co-parents, friends, or potentially something more, they were united in their commitment to the remarkable child who had changed both their lives. The next morning, as Nathan helped Lily prepare for her first day of 3rd grade, she suddenly stopped organizing her backpack and grew serious. Dad, I need to do something important before school, she announced. What's that, treasure mapper? He asked, using the nickname that had stuck since their early days together. Lily retrieved her special red crown bottle cap from her collection and placed it in his hand. I want you to have this today, for luck and protection. Deeply touched by the gesture, Lily had never before parted with her most treasured cap. Nathan knelt to her level. Are you sure this is your most special one? She nodded solemnly. I don't need it as much anymore. My map is working now. I found my treasure. She wrapped her small arms around his neck in a tight hug. It's you and Mom and the foundation. And all the kids we help. That's better than any magic bottle cap. Nathan held his daughter close, marveling at how this child, once a stranger to him, had become the very center of his universe, teaching him daily about courage, resilience, and the true meaning of wealth. You're my treasure too, he whispered against her hair. The most valuable one I'll ever find. Later that morning, as Lily confidently walked into her classroom, Nathan watched from the doorway, the red crown bottle cap secure in his pocket. His phone buzzed with a message from Rachel. How did drop-off go? He texted back, perfect. She's ready for this new chapter. And he was too, Nathan realized, ready for whatever came next in this unexpected life that had begun with a crash on a Vermont road and a brave little girl who'd pulled him from the wreckage, not just of his car, but of an existence that had valued the wrong kinds of treasures. See, he walked back to his car. He passed a school bulletin board announcing the year's theme, Finding Your Path. Nathan smiled at the serendipity. Lily Morgan Blackwood had certainly found hers, creating maps that guided others through their darkest moments toward hope and healing. And in doing so, she had led her father to the most valuable discovery of all, that true wealth wasn't measured in corporate acquisitions or stock portfolios, but in the courage to start again, the wisdom to learn from a child, and the joy of building something meaningful together. With the red crown bottle cap as his talisman, Nathan Blackwood, once defined solely by his business empire, now proudly known as Lily's dad, stepped forward into their shared future, guided by the unique wisdom of a child who had always understood that the most precious treasures were not things to be acquired, but connections to be cherished and nurtured, one bottle cap map at a time. 3 months later, on a crisp autumn day at the cabin, Lily arranged a special bottle cap pattern on the flat rock where her journey had begun. At the center was a new cap, a golden one Nathan had specially made, engraved with a small heart, surrounded by red, blue, and green caps in a pattern symbolizing their unconventional family. It's perfect, Lily declared, stepping back, to admire her creation as Rachel captured the moment with her camera and Nathan watched with pride. The foundation had expanded to 5 countries. The clinical research studies were showing remarkable results, and that morning, in the cabin's cozy kitchen, Nathan and Rachel had told Lily they were planning to marry in the spring, a decision she had greeted with the satisfied nod of someone whose map had correctly predicted the destination all along. As the sun dipped low over the Vermont mountains, painting the landscape in hues of gold and amber, the 3 of them walked hand in hand toward the maple trees that had sustained generations of Morgan's. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities to help children find their way through darkness toward light. But tonight was for this moment, this family, forged not through conventional paths, but through courage, second chances, and the extraordinary wisdom of a child who had always known that even the most discarded objects could, with love and imagination, become treasures beyond price.